And a lot of people will say, you did not have to go to the extent to write that whole thing because this guy probably A, isn't going to read it, B, is going to read it out of context and just ask more questions that further his attacking viewpoint if he has one, or C, never even look at it and never respond, right? Uh, for example, I took 24 minutes out of my day. I need to go to bed in approximately 1 hour. I have homework I still need to do, and I have practice to wake up for at 6:30 in the morning. You may be thinking, why did you just spend all this time on this comment? Because I care about this guy. All right, how you guys doing today? I basically just came on. All right, how you guys doing today? About to hop into a weird little video. First things first, though, just make sure you like that video, man. Look, exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me, right? So I just wanted to do a quick little video because my day was pretty busy, so I hadn't actually got the chance to look at comments. The purpose of this video is just kind of to show you guys how I respond to comments. Some of you guys actually comment and I respond to you, right? Or everybody that comments responds to them, but some people comment and those people I respond to. So if you want to leave a comment, I will respond to it. Granted, so long as I don't blow up overnight and start getting thousands or hundreds of thousands of comments and can't respond to possibly all of them, right? So you can see I responded to this guy, nothing too crazy. He just said, you actually believe that? And I said, why I believe that, right? If historical evidence points to Jesus being real, then I'll accept what he believed as well. This led to my own research on the topic, including me writing a paper and doing that furthered my beliefs. And I would say, if you haven't given it a chance, please do some research, because even if you don't end up believing it, it is still pretty fascinating. Like how people can possibly come to the conclusion that Noah's Ark may have possibly happened, even if you won't try to believe it, right? It's still fascinating at the end of the day. So that's how I respond to a comment like that. And then we get somebody commenting like this guy, right? H3fan725 saying, can you explain Leviticus 25 verse 44 to 46 and Isaiah 45:7 in the King James Version, which says, I form the light and create darkness, I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Why does God make evil? So let's start off easy. Leviticus 25, 44 to 46. All right, nothing too crazy. Hop over to Blue Letter Bible, get that KJV, get them other letters, sayings, whatever you want to say. All right, 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. You shall buy them, bondmen and bond slaves, or maids. Moreover, moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you. Sojourn basically just means to, like, they wait there, they tarry there, they're stopping there for a minute, right? They sojourn among you. Of them ye shall buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begot in your lands, they shall be your possession. And they shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever, but of your brethren, the children of you, just now. This comment, bro, I was expecting something a little bit hard, right? All we do first, like it, give it a little heart, right? Because he commented, which shows a step in the right direction, right? People that comment, they want their questions answered, and for most people, they won't answer those questions. But I don't want to just see this guy's question go unanswered and him constantly harbor resentment against God for, in his mind, probably justifying or allowing or glorifying slavery, right? So what we say is, this is a set of verses that describe the way that, I can't type, the Israelites were to carry out slavery. For their time period, slavery was incredibly, I think it's with an I, incredibly prominent, was incredibly prominent, and God wanted to make sure that this was something done in a way that he felt was not evil in a context. Let's add context. That sounds more astute. Back to this, right? And just to be sure, what I've heard Cliff answer, right? And Cliff is a pastor, right? I will never go off what I think and what I hear. Well, that's a lie. I probably have before at some point, right? But I try my best to stick by what I've heard a pastor who I believe is ordained with the Holy Spirit, what they say based on what the word says speaking concerning them, right? So we can go over here. We can go to tools. Wait for this thing to boot up. Go to commentaries. Let's see. Leviticus 25. Footnotes. No. Study guide. Verse by verse study. Leviticus 25 through 27. That's not what we need. commentary on Leviticus 25 from my boy Matthew Henry. I made an oopsie. Open link in new tab. Almost hit the X. Okay. All right. So we find our little section here. We now have the laws concerning servitude, designed to preserve the honor of the Jewish nation as a free people rescued by divine power out of the house of bondage and the glorious liberty of God's sons and their newborns. Right, and we can see that he should not serve as a bond servant, verse 39, nor be sold with the sale of a bondman. That is, it must not be looked upon that his master that bought him as absolute a property in him is captive taken in war, that might be used, sold, and bequeathed at pleasure as a man's cattle. No, he shall serve you as a hired servant, whom the master has use of, not only despotic power over, right? And we look at this word despotic, which means unconstitutional power. So he doesn't have this unconstitutional power over him, right? The reason is, they are my servants, verse 42. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of they shall not be sold as bondmen. Bondmen, a male slave, a person who's owned by someone and bound to serve without wages. A serf, a slave. Serf is the lowest class in India, I believe, or at least in history class in 9th grade. That's what we were told. So God redeemed them out of Egypt, therefore they may never be exposed to sale as a bondman. And this doesn't enforce them being evil to their other slaves, right? We can see give to their servants, which is just and equal, talking about in Colossians, which is in the New Testament. But even in the Old Testament, Job says, if I did despise the cause of my manservant or maidservant, why, when they contended with me, what then shall I do when God rises up and he visited? What shall I answer him? Right? Because if he's saying, if I did despise the cause of them when they contended with me, if I didn't listen to them, if I did them dirty, what am I going to say when God shows up at the door? What excuse am I going to have to why I treated them badly when I know that that's not his will? Right? Right. And he's saying the second point, that they may purchase these people that were round about them, or the strangers, except those of the 7 nations that were going to be destroyed, and they may claim dominion over them and entail them upon their families as an inheritance. The year of Jubilee cannot discharge them. Every 7 years they would let all the slaves go if they so chose. Right? But this is saying, they shall be heathen around you, you shall buy them, and this is, they shall be your bondmen forever. So the year of Jubilee doesn't count. Thus in our English plantations, they're talking about American slavery, but, right, the authority which they had over them purchasing was in pursuance of the blessing of Jacob. Let people serve thee, aka the Gentiles, prefigured to bring in the Gentiles to the service of Christ in the church. Ask me and I'll give thee heathen for their inheritance, right? That's David saying in the Psalm, as it's promised in Isaiah, and strangers shall stand thee and feed your flocks, and sons of aliens shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers, right? They're serving Israel, aka the Jews, aka Jesus, because he's a Jew. And Revelation 2:26, the upright shall have dominion in the morning, aka, right, back to Psalms, like sheep they are laid in the grave, death shall feed in them, the upright shall have dominion over them in the morning. The morning is just the first part, right? There's still an after part. There's still the evening. So not only is it teaching them how to go about this historical act of, doing slavery, or however you want to call it, it's also a shadow of what's to come for Christ and the Gentiles, right? So he's saying context that he felt was not evil. This should not be undermined, or it should not be undermined that the treatment of these servants was to be gentle and kind at request of God, but this is also a shadow. I don't want to say that. This is also a picture of what is to come in Christ. Promises say that God will give Israel helpers if they ask, and many prophetic verses talk about slaves serving Jesus, aka bringing Gentiles into the new covenant. And then to a second part, I, the Lord, I form the light, create darkness, make peace and evil. Right? This said that there are not two gods, forces in heavens, one good or good bad, and a yin yang type of thing, right? He doesn't have an opposite. Satan has never been God's opposite. There's only one God. He created the devil, therefore he creates evil, right? Undoubtedly the Lord is no representative as evil as such, but he does make use of evil so that he may bring forth good. And this is something that we can see, right? There's no good without evil, therefore there has to be that little dichotomy. So this is what we say. And for Isaiah 45:7, God created all, including that which we use for good and that which we use for evil. God does not inherently make things bad. However, he does not take away the choices that we have to do bad as well. Simply put, when God made everything good in the garden, he said just that, comma, quote, and it was good. To the outside eye, you could hesitate to call it good because there was nothing to contrast it to, meaning there is no good without evil. There is only evil. However, this verse is just saying that there is one God. He happened to make things that ended up choosing to do evil, but because he loves us and those processes, he allows them free will to be carried out without stepping in, which would take away our free will. And then at the end, I usually like to add a little happy comment, right? If anything I said was confusing, go into bluelitterbible.com, search the verse of your choice, and find a commentary on it using the tools tab on the verse. Smiley face. Now, and a lot of people would say, you did not have to go to the extent to write that whole thing, because this guy probably A, isn't going to read it, B, is going to read it out of context and just ask more questions that further his attacking viewpoint if he has one, or C, never even look at it and never respond, right? For example, I took 24 minutes out of my day. I need to go to bed in approximately 1 hour. I have homework I still need to do, and I have practice to wake up for at 6:30 in the morning. You may be thinking, why did you just spend all this time on this comment? Because I care about this guy, right? The power of God is acting inside me to take the time to respond to this guy's comment, because no matter what I choose to do with my time, nothing feels better than answering somebody's questions about the Bible for me. And as you can see, I didn't know the answer off the top of my head. I showed you how I found the answers, and you guys can find the exact same answers. If not through that, you can go find a sermon, you could go ask a pastor, you can really do whatever you want to find your answer, and I guarantee you there's an answer out there, because the Bible has been around for who knows how long. Therefore, people have had to go through these and answer similar questions, right? When I told you guys, there are no new contradictions to the Bible. Because the Bible has been out, people have probably countered the same things over and over and over again. And guess what? If there was any major contradictions, we would have been known about it. And if any of them affected the validity that we have in the evidence for the Gospels, or anything affecting salvation, we would have known about it, and Christianity would not be as popular as it is, or something would be very wrong. But none of these contradictions have ever stood the test of time against Christianity, therefore it remains prevalent. Because if it was so easily dismissible, it wouldn't be so popular, I guarantee you. There's a reason we don't say that the sky is red. There's a reason nobody comes to claim that the sky is a different color any other than blue, right? I don't know why some people are flat earthers. That's a tale for another time, but that's probably just as simple as, I guess, from without seeing it through this way or this way, you can argue because you didn't see it. But that's the same way atheists and Christianity work, right? You're just not seeing it this way. You're just not seeing it this way. This stuff exists. People admit that it exists. You can choose to believe it or not, and I can understand why you don't. Flat earthers, kind of the same thing, right? There's two sides. But yeah, I love responding to comments. Make sure you guys comment something, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.